You're live. Okay.
Cool, thank you. All right, let's see if we have any.
Sorry. You mute.
Yeah, definitely.
2 minutes. This is get that safety vote in just in case we didn't have. We still
Yeah.
we have until the end of next week.
Oh.
But
We need 2 more people?
Yep,
Yeah.
2 more.
I feel confident. we'll come.
Okay.
Right? You
You-
know, do you
If you build it, they shall come.
Because Thomas said he's coming and so did,
Paul.
Paul said he
Yeah,
was gonna
Paul.
be.
Yeah, Paul.
He just had to leave. I think he said he had to leave early.
Oh, do I hear?
Glad you showed here.
It's principal evaluations.
No, no,
Yes.
that's another,
That's for another thing.
no, right? That's another time.
all right, where to go?
Is he?
That
Yes.
I don't think it is.
parts.
Yeah.
One short.
Yeah, I don't think you.
Something, yeah.
Send out a public source.
Same on the-
Because it should have said then closed session. When you
Yeah.
close session, right?
Or it's a fully separate. No, it's full of. Yeah.
Vote to
And-
adjourn.
and-
It would have said vote.
Yeah, we don't count the form. Yeah. So 1, 2.
This is, but y'all can.
Yeah, we can go for that.
Oh,
Like for first forum. it's a-
Oh.
So.
Could have all over.
I think we'll-
Regardless,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm just ready for.
No matter what, we have.
Is doing it. Oh, you're good today? They were done, well, tomorrow, Friday's the last, Friday's French. But yeah.
All right.
Minutes.
Forum, yeah.
I was under the impression they're staying for principal evaluation, we're not. I was thinking that was today.
No,
Okay.
no,
Yes,
yes,
we will.
that. We tried to,
I thought that was today.
oh, no, because we didn't have enough, we talked about that and we just said
Yeah, what,
it
yeah.
would be a separate.
Okay.
Thing, so I do need to schedule that. I know we talked 2 days this week that works for me next week.
You
Yeah.
said you were gonna send out something for people's timing. I have not gotten anything.
No, I have
You're
not.
filling it out.
I just have not sent it. It's on me. But I ended up not able to do other nights this week either, so. You guys should have the results, right?
Yeah.
But the discussion, yeah, I will.
Fine.
So this hopefully will not be a super long meeting.
So it's just us that are deciding on that money?
Yeah, I
And
think.
not even-
I know that, Amy Zednick, and Brad, and a 10. Shortly, I believe. We. What? So, we get started, we could go online. Yeah. Recording.
Live.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you. Hey, at least. Right. Right, Alicia. Welcome. We can go ahead and get us started. Call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the It's a special meeting of the LSC, Wednesday, May 15th. And our purpose is to discuss some spending priorities should we have leftover money that we must use by the end of the current school year. So I'm calling the meeting to order. I'd like to do a quick roll call. So if you could just go around, state your name and your role, that would be great. Yeah.
Paul Kendrick, Community Representative.
Lisa Hernandez, parent rep.
Sandra Kaler, teacher rep.
Angelica Sepulveda, non-teacher rep.
Peter Talmers, parent rep.
Eric Steimler, principal.
David Cottons, teacher rep.
Alexander Torzeski, student rep.
Jane Rosenthal, student rep.
Great. Thank you. We have a quorum, and so we're officially in session. The agenda is going to be to hear from Dr. Steinmiller on an update on the budget. We had a couple outstanding questions, and we're going to see, do we have money left over? If so, how much, and so on. Then we will have a discussion on priorities, if there is money left. And then we will potentially vote on those priorities if there is money and that we, want to prioritize. So that's our overall flow. Dr. Steinmiller, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sounds good. A couple of questions to answer coming into this. Let me share a screen on some other things as well. The idea was shared about money of not using our rental fees if we could, if that hadn't already been moved, it had already been moved. Can't move it back. So we weren't able to do that. But that was one of our immediate actions, was to see if we could reverse the movement of the line. It was already done, and you can't take money out of those lines and put it back into a rental line once it's been changed out. So I was not able to do it, but I think it was a really great idea. Sorry, we weren't able to resolve that. So we weren't able to make that move.
Is that something we could sort of leverage in the future?
Potentially, we didn't know we were going to have these funds until we had the funds. It would have meant a delay in transportation, delay in other things. So it kind of what it was at that point. I'm going to share on the screen up here kind of the summary of where we are at and as things stand. So we were not able to reverse any of those funds. So we did, those went into line to be able to, for transportation, the certain things that we had out of our rental properties. These are the three funding sources that basically are dropping or have dropped funds into, to kind of clarify this. One is a salary line and the other two are benefit lines. And then the total fund available is on column E. It's 76,000, 13,000, 72,000. But understand we also did approve some things already with the use of these funds. So you can see that the total amount of money coming in. Some of the expenditures coming out of this, they're on budget transfer tabs 300 to 306. There are some other purchases like ink and other things that we needed for right now to finish out that are under a certain amount of money that to be able to kind of finish out the year. One is lanyards, not only for the end of the year, but make sure we have lanyards for the beginning of the year. We can't have IDs without lanyards. So there's some of the critical needs that we needed to make purchases on. So those have been made.
Could you move that? It's covering on the screen.
It's not me. Yeah. It's not me, it's you. No, it's that. It's hit the small tab.
Well, there you go.
All right. So you see the funds right here. That's all that's available. Because the row 28 and 29 are benefit lines, we don't want to completely deplete those in case there's a benefit need that may pop up at the last minute, meaning a teacher turned like their hire date was the last week of school and their benefits require something coming out of it. Keeping a bit of a buffer is just sort of a safe practice. We at the last LSC meeting, so that leaves us to, so the total number is $140,557 dollars. We at the last LSC prioritized, we made approvals for all the departments, all the previous purchases of what they wanted. That's $119,719, leaving us with $20,837.85. So that's the funds that we want to kind of table to discuss. I presented briefly two things. One, office supplies for next year that I know we could need, and also the cubicles in room by the counseling office. has two other proposals. Other things that could, that, kind of bring up just additional options, because I know options were something that we want to be able to talk
So, I'm
about.
sorry, the first two were what in cubicles?
One is office supplies for the beginning of the year to make sure
Okay.
we have paper and pens and pencils and things we need to start the year. The other was cubicles by the counseling office. We have we have our diploma coordinator, our careers coordinator slash will be a careers coordinator next year, our programmer, and are in a room in which they basically put up whiteboards to separate themselves to create offices. It's actually put in like real walls in there. It costs $10,000. IB career coordinator, CP,
Oh.
IB careers program
Oh, yeah,
coordinator.
he's a program. So you're saying that would.
He's the testing coordinator and IB
Yeah,
CP
okay.
coordinator. Next year, he'll be entirely a CP
Right,
coordinator.
right.
It's still the only office space we got. So it's in the middle of a teacher's lounge.
Yeah, respectfully, that's not an office space. That's a teacher's lounge. Contractually obligated to have one in each building for the teachers. I don't think that any offices should be in there.
We don't have any alternative spaces. Contractually, we have to also have spaces for our related service providers and other people. And so each department does have a department space. We're looking at how English, how we can improve that. But each of our departments do have teacher spaces. I mean, we do have a full-on teachers lounge there, and in the cafeteria, we also have a cafeteria space for here. So we do need to have these spaces. The only way to do it is by creating spaces within the spaces that we have. And so what you would still have in that room would still be printing area, it would still be a table, it would still have the access, but actually what I do is separate then 4 office spaces off to the side. You still have the printing space in the middle, so it's still meeting a printing space need without us taking over there's no other room really to take over.
What about the former assistant principal's office location above the pillars on the main floor, like by where the tiles are hexagonal, where you call the bird cage? That's a very, very large office, which could also be partitioned into smaller workspaces.
That's a possible option too. We just need, but again, we would still need to have an assistant principal's office. We still need to have, I mean, the issue is we need about 3 to 4 offices that we don't have. This is a space in which we create 3 to 4 offices.
Yeah, and I will just also say that right now that space is being utilized by Mr. G for an SEL space for students.
And that's another request has been, how do we also create in the freshman building, an additional space that we don't have yet is how do we create another piece room? Yeah. That was approved by the PPLC. So there's some things that we're trying to make more space out of lack of spaces. But that is one in which it can be divided. There's spaces to create 4 other additional rooms there and still have then the printing space. Really where our subs go for their to go.
So,
Sorry. Go ahead. No.
so
Sorry about.
I know that there is like an initiative to clean out just a lot of stuff that we have from years and years ago. Would that clear up any additional space potentially?
Those are gonna be store like their storage spaces for the most part. I actually wanted to kind of I actually want to take you on. Actually have an idea of what I'm talking about and understand that what is this gonna look like. Okay. So I do want to take a little adventure.
I don't know. I know it's super busy, but did anyone have time to walk through the whole both of the buildings to see what spaces can be reused? I know even me, my colleagues have some of us have classrooms, so probably don't need all that space, especially when we do one-on-one check-in. So maybe we can reevaluate the spaces and move people in.
We can, yeah, and I'm pretty much, that's why I want to show you 2 spaces that are being utilized right now. And we will have to reevaluate as we have additional positions that are taking on. Our ELPT is a full-time ELPT. I'm going to show you. I'd like to show you our IB coordinator's office. And
Sorry, what is an EL?
English language, they're the program. So they support our ESL students, their office. So I just want to show you the space. I totally disagree with it, but I just want to show you one of the options. If you wouldn't mind going a quick look to it.
I think, for example, like there's a lot of examples of classrooms where teachers don't feel as though they have a place to go. And so there's a teacher sitting in the back of the room at a second desk in the room while another teacher is teaching class, right? There's a lot of examples of us asking teachers to like double up the number of desks in rooms and be in instructional spaces, for example. So, I think it's a fair ask for people who need these office spaces to also be sharing communal spaces. For example, it seems as though I gave an idea of one earlier, that maybe hadn't been previously considered. Additionally, consolidating, office space places such as like maybe our NYP coordinator and our CP coordinator are sharing an office with 2 desks in a room. Like these are ways that I think we can be creative about thinking about putting people in places. I think
Has that been discussed
there's
at the
there's a matter of
facilities?
creativity.
Has that been discussed at the facilities meetings at all?
No, it has not.
This really this space.
I think
Okay.
also the attendance office is so huge. I don't understand why it has to be that big. That was originally the IB diploma program coordinator that wasn't even talked to about it and put into sort of a very small room when she's meeting with people, much more so than an attendance coordinator. Once we had that space taken from the faculty and staff, and I mean that it was really unfair, I believe. We had desks for us to go work in there. Substitutes could sit in there during free periods that don't have access to offices. We had security people that would go in there and go on the computers if they wanted to do something during their free time. So that room, I'm advocating that the faculty gets that back because it was taken.
Well, we can talk about where 3 people will need to have their offices, but at the same time, INS, your department office is upstairs on the 3rd floor, correct?
Yeah.
And math has their own department office on the 2nd floor, correct? English has theirs in the basement, which stinks, but we need to like work on a better space for it, but they have their department office there. Language acquisition has theirs in the back of the. We have actually quite a few spaces. Schools are required to have one single teacher's lounge. We could have one single teacher's lounge. That is not what I'm at. There are spaces where every department has their own independent teacher lounge.
Does the
Space.
security have their own space?
They can use that outside space, but they have been using actually like the main space they relax and go to is the one by the cafeteria and the cafeteria space. So we have 7 to 8 different teacher lounges in the main building. Now those can be consolidated to have multiple spaces. I'm not advocating for that. So to say this one space is to allow people not to have an office. I really want to show you where ELPT's office is. And I really want to show you where these offices are, where our coordinator is expected to have student files kept. And as we expand, if we were to get, for example, a registrar for the school, where their office potentially could go, but right now, where we don't have people places. Even some of our, again, I just want to show you it so you're going to get the perspective, but we do have teacher lounges throughout our building for our teachers in their departments to have. So there is places for our daily teachers to go to. And our security does use the teacher lounge there, and they can, if they need to, they also go to JJ's office, but we do have space. But I want you to see it so I can explain. So, I mean, I will make it fast. Just zoom in.
I think it's.
One is right
useful-
here, and one's right
Sounds-
there.
It sounds like your major decision, right? I mean, I know it's.
It's ours,
Okay.
but I want you to see it as it makes
vote
informed decision.
on, like, spaces. Well,
He's advocating
no,
for
yeah,
the,
for sure.
This is what I'm advocating for, and when you want to present your
But-
idea, but let me show you why I'm
No,
advocating.
yeah.
So just a clarification, at least for me, I don't know about everybody else, but so we do have money that's available that we need to cover.
$20,837.
How much again?
And does that include,
$20,800.
does that include the money that we put aside for the last meeting for office supplies, or was that conditional on this meeting?
So, yeah, there, any additional like paper would come out of this too.
Yep.
We have, yeah, so this would be any additional paper. And this doesn't include like, let's say $3,000 drops last day. It doesn't include that. So we can think ahead, but I want to show you these spaces as an option. And then if you have other options of how we could utilize these funds, but I just want to be able to show it to you so you can understand. Yes, I would love that to just be an open space that's unused for other things, but I also have 3 to 4 people who need to have an office.
So, yeah.
Nope.
Yep. Mhm. it's even if we combine the AP's office, the AP's office would have to be secured. We're gonna have to have ceiling to wall roof because they have to have private conversations with teachers and families and students. So construction, this is actually a way to avoid massive construction.
So that was going to be another thing that I brought up is like we currently have people in certain spaces, some of whom kind of just were sort of grandfathered in and they've been here prior to you getting here. Is it possible that we need to shuffle around who's where in order to give people who need bigger spaces with more secure places for files a better, bigger room? And other people who don't need that kind of space can be put in a cubicle communal sharing workspace area, right? For our MYP coordinator has their own office in the freshman building. Is that a person who needs file space, secure space, right? Is that a situation where you need concrete walls with a ceiling and doors to lock? Or is it possible that we could put someone else who needs that kind of room and space in that location and then move our MYP coordinator to a different place? That's just one example. All I'm saying is that like, maybe we could be thinking about the moving around of people and their current locations in addition to this, and that might make some possibilities.
And we can do that with the PPC. Last time we did this was 2 years ago with the union because there are contractual spaces that are required for social workers and different people. That's the last time we did this. That was 2 years ago. So I'm open to meeting with like a PPC to make sure that the certain spaces that we were assumed could be used weren't able to be used for certain groups. And so that was something that came out in that last time we did 2 years ago, but happy to revisit it. But regardless, I can tell you 3 to 4 people who are going to need offices next year that should be designated. This is a solution to have 4 official offices with locked doors.
I guess I just want to say, I know the 3rd floor, one of our social workers has a classroom about this size. He meets with one person at a time or to small groups. That can be, I believe that space, we've talked about this before with our team. He doesn't need that big space. That's a good option to put a few folks up there.
So you could put, that could be like 2 coordinators could go there.
Yeah.
Potentially, but he's required to have a private space.
Yeah, but maybe you can have a smaller space.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So put the 2 like CP and MYP coordinators in that room, and then put that person who needs the secure space in the current MYP coordinator's room.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at with like
I'm all about like
better utilization of the current spaces and thinking about it.
That's been our issue for 4 years though. So that's why I'm reluctant to get any of these. I kind of want to know that if we get those and I vote for those, that there is a say in how those are going to be used, because we're not using space properly.
We are using it as effectively as we can, to be honest with you.
Well,
I mean, that the union actually
just gave
union advocated for that room for the social worker that came through the union. I agreed with the union.
I know, but like she's saying though that yeah, exactly.
So, and why it was designated for him specifically, because he does groups. And so having a classroom, and it's not the size of this room, it's the size of like, if this room.
Okay. I mean, you could definitely fit multiple people. We're just
If-
to utilize the space. Like I said, even me, I'll have my space. I have a bathroom. I don't need it. It's nice. I have you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
well, and that's the thing with our attendance office, we have 3 people. Well, there will be 3 people, like it's meant for 3 people. So 3 people in attendance. And so like it's a larger room, but it's going to have, it says 3 adults in that space. And then you also meet with families. So it is designated for having larger groups. So I will make this brief just so I can show you. So I'm not just giving in your mind. So you can see it. You can go quick attention.
I think that's fine for us to look. Let's say
I will make it fast.
one. Ideally, this type of a discussion would have gone through facilities first, so we can talk about the options, because you're going to show us a couple of rooms, but that really necessitates us seeing all these other rooms and ideas. And so without that information, we're not able to make an informed decision.
So this actually has been on the facilities agenda for over a year.
Purchasing these kinds of spaces has been on the facilities, but not a facilities review. I mean, Mr. Collins has been in most of these conversations. Like we've at no point have talked about how to use the spaces in the building. There's more so on a laundry list, but this has also been along with like $70,000 in auditorium improvements and, the fire curtain and everything like that. So each one hasn't had the same level of analysis with stretch.
I don't know that it's been raised as a topic for facility. It's just coming up now,
Mhm.
but I just want to say ideally for us as a body going forward, the more we can have detailed hash out, what about this, what about that? At the committee level is better because it's more efficient. And
This-
then that committee has a responsibility to come and report to members of the council, say, we've done our homework, here's the deal, what are your questions? And then all these, what about thises would have been talked through and then we can respond. Right now, it's kind of hard for us to say. I hear a lot of good ideas on the table. Again, I'm happy to go see, but I do think that, so that's one thing is ideally, let's push it to committee. The second is, you know, Dr. Steinmiller, you show us these, we'll probably see that it is a small room and gee, we really do need to make space and Cube would help. What would you say about like the other ideas Mr. Coddens had or the attendance office being very, very large with 1 or 2 people?
It has 3 people.
3? Okay.
Yeah, and so there will be adjustments to some of the places next year, but anybody dealing with attendance next year will be in attendance. We'll have 3 people in the attendance.
Okay. And this year, what do we have?
We have 2 because we've been trying to fill the one,
Okay.
but the community rep liaison is your positions associated with attendance and will also be.
But that's the thing. I think we just need a
So we have-
list of who needs their own spaces. Like STLS, that's what I do. I'm required to be in private spaces with students to have, because you have very confidential conversations. Same with social workers and counselors, but everyone else could, you know, share a shared working space if you need to.
Okay, so again, the topic of doing the whole spaces wasn't because it's recently been done with the youth. Like we went through every single space to talk about, and there's spaces that are not okay. We've gone through all of them, even some of the rooms. So that's why I wouldn't say this is the need to do a whole refresh wasn't a priority because I've already done this within the last 2 years with the union to designate all of these spaces and spaces that could not be used, could be used.
Could I
Okay,
just
but just
say,
because it's done previously does not mean it's done previously right?
okay,
Having been done previously and been done previously in the most effective way, those are 2 different things. So like I'm not comfortable greenlighting buying these partitions if there's a way of if it's a part of a larger conversation about like putting people in better places. Just-
I'm not
I
sure.
mean,
can I
Hey,
just
Lara?
interject? Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on what you just said. You're not comfortable greenlighting this if there is a conversation that needs to be had. The conversation we're having today is about $20,000 that we need to spend, if not, I think within the next 3 weeks. Since the cubicles are still a topic of conversation, should we then address that at a later time, next year's school budget, and maybe look at some other options that are on the table?
That's why I said for the summer, we need to go through again and really not just look at space, but if the space is being used properly. I'd said that at the last meeting and I brought that up before. So I agree with you on that. And we can still go through and move around without doing cubicles to address, you know,
I mean, it's an opportunity before us to actually achieve this. That's why it's been over a year of trying to make something happen on this, because this was a part of the solution that I met with the union on. One of the things was to advocate for this, have that space separated. When I met with the union reps at the time was to have that space divided to be able to meet. This is coming out of a solution. So
Okay, so Ms. Sepulveda said we need a list of who needs their own spaces. You have already gone through that list with the union. What you're saying.
yes,
Okay, and that was this year,
that was 2 years ago.
2 years
This
ago.
is actually part of the plan of where this is going. So we're just trying to, that's why we've been trying to use, it's been on the facilities line because this was actually one of our solutions that we had. We've been trying to bring up the document.
And what do you think about some of Mr. Cotton's just ideas like this room and that room? I don't-
I think they can have some solutions, but it's not going to address all of it. 4 rooms, being able to acquire 4 rooms for people right now would be perfect. Because next year, if we don't do this, then people are going to be exactly where they are right now. These previous states. That's what it will look like next year. And so I'm advocating for those people. Actually, I just want to
But I think my point is you're not advocating for them very well because you're not providing the things that we have questions about, such as what are the names of the, like, what are the list of roles? What are the list of rooms? Right? Like, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree that we need other places for people to have spaces. But if you're trying to convince someone of changing something, then like it's sort of incumbent on that person to like have all the information in the plan. And so I agree that we need more office space stuff, but there it seems to be, as you said, part of a larger conversation that is beyond the scope of this budget conversation.
So like show you spaces.
Okay, and so just from a process perspective, we're going to, we're in the stage on the agenda of discussing spending priorities. You had started to say, we have a few ideas. One is office supply, another is cubicles, and then we stop there. Are there others on your list?
The others in the list, it would be money to go towards for volleyball, it's 40,000 or 80,000. So if we were to get $40,000, it's kind of the, no, just the main building.
Oh, the dollar amounts that got up to like the 40 and 80 included other things like the dividers, paint colors for the gym.
No, paint is separate. Paint is separate.
Where's the dividers? Improvements or whatnot, 'cause I thought the scoreboards.
Yeah, the
20 grand.
scoreboards are. $55,000.
Right, scoreboard plus the sound system.
Yes, you can actually.
Does our sound system work? We don't. Well, we got mics and a speaker. What do we
Well,
do?
we've been bringing a portable speaker.
Okay.
Or we have to hire somebody.
Okay. So do you know if you have a cost for just the scoreboard? Those are two very different things.
Scoreboards, $20,000.
20,000 for the scoreboard itself.
And that has like this opportunity for us to maybe sell some sponsorship space to help pay for that in the future, right? So it may pay for itself, but like next year's budget,
Yeah, the 20,000 would be what we have, basically. 55,000.
Just think we can't always be so shiny. I think we just, I know, but just let's go with bare, at least the bare bones. It's either everything or nothing. Are there any middle, it's like just the scoreboard and
Yeah, because like I was just gonna say that like as we're thinking about this, if there are investments we can make in those items that give us recurring revenue. It's like Chicago Sport and Social spends over 100 grand for those every year. They're going to our accounts. Well, sort of. Because they're renting our gym. You know, and if there are like well, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying like that helps. I'm assuming that folks want a scoreboard if they're having a basketball league. I'm just saying like that's an assumption. But like if there's other opportunities, like our chief engineer, Tony, doesn't make it seem like the pool sewer tank is something that we can do immediately. But that's a little over 20 grand too, is ensuring that the pool can get proper usage. Yeah, we actually rent it out, you know. Oh no, oh yeah, I mean, all these dollars have gone historically to other things. They all come, yeah, they all come into the dollars that we report on. So I'm just saying there's some facility, you know, items that we consider like the investments that they're going to secure dollars we get in every year. So just like another.
Yes, and NIL.
NILs.
Yeah, we.
Dr. Simon was checking in. At one point, he announced to the LSC that the Chicago Public League, like as a whole, would potentially cover part of the cost. But I don't know if that's no longer the case. But they would have their logo Yeah, is that still part of it at all? Dr. Similar, Chicago Sport, the Chicago whatever, the public league.
We could up their rent, but also they're paying for them. They're not using the school.
Yeah, or no, you had announced to us in a couple of different meetings that you thought they were gonna split the cost with us in order to
Oh,
get
Chicago
sponsorship.
Public League, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get the final. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna split. 10,000 maybe, but not like 20, 40,000, but friends of.
Other thing, I know the dollar amounts that Friends of was given for the bathrooms, for example, was $40,000. That was covering, I think, 4 bathrooms.
Yeah, the 2 here and 2.
And so is that like a thought of like 10,000 per bathroom?
Yep.
Okay. I just like,
This is about 2-3 years ago. Yeah.
it's like, no, well.
And dividers.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the partitions, yeah. Yeah.
For the scoreboard, was there anybody,
What's up?
for the scoreboard, was there anybody else?
I mean, what we can do is get people to do you know, 2,000 a year to sponsor and have their name up on there. We've got the like with the one you can charge for like little things like $50 to have happy birthday to one. There are benefits to it. So we charge for people to use our marquee outside. That's been really great. Ways, the things we're able to like do recurring that's beneficial to having that. That's it. Yeah, but you can maybe able to host different kinds of things. Do smaller. Options look like. I know.
Just brought some other ones. The auditorium, of course, but the next last meeting, like grant, painting. There's a table athletic trainer. We have a long list of things.
Yeah, but one was the divider for the office spaces. The proposal for the boards. There is an ice maker, so more athletics. Have this. However, somebody needs ice. There is an ice. It's $3,000. So that's so my proposal would be because anytime students need ice, the twisted ankle or the nurses need it, they don't have ice. It doesn't work, and they can't use cafeteria because it's for food. Next to the cafeteria, because at the by the teachers' lounge, there's actually a line there that so we can actually attach it to a pre-existing line power. Otherwise, it costs me $6,000 to put it in the location. So that would look at the two. I'm not gonna get
You're proposing, you propose for about 10,000. Ice maker for nurses and athletics.
in general. I'm obviously nurses, but even at our sports and social, if they needed ice, say, hey, that's an added benefit. Yeah, I agree.
did any of the department specific requests that we approved last time include paper?
No, that's something that we're expected to provide.
We're wondering like, how much do we anticipate paying? I mean, how much do you spend on food?
I mean, I know that I print things, right? But I have been very, very conscious, especially since the pandemic and all the students getting computers, about what's necessary to print and what's not. Much of my instructional materials are either a textbook or things that are posted on Google Classroom and not printed. Anytime that I do assessments, some of them are in Google Forms and some of them are on paper. A majority of anything that I do print throughout the year are tests and quizzes. And I know that, every teacher is different, and I'm not saying that every teacher needs to be like me and be paper conscious. But there are very often times where I can find examples of like very thick packets from English or world studies being found in the freshman building teacher's lounge, or very thick packets of like foreign language Mandarin comes to mind, for example. Like these are people that are, for all intents and purposes, like printing workbooks, printing textbooks. Is there any way that we could be weaning our way off of that paper use? Until that happens, we will continue to spend boatloads of money on paper. And I think even then, it will still be a huge expense. And frankly, probably a huge need for me and my colleagues, right? Again, I can't say that everyone is as paper conscious as I am. Everyone has the right to their own teaching styles and what they think is going to work, and guided notes, or like space to collect the annotations for things that they read and write on, and all of that. But we do print a lot, maybe more than I think that we should.
I'm going to argue that there's going to be a swing in the other direction, right? I think I hear you. I think we're conscious. We're also trying, I think for history, I'm going to go to less Chromebooks in my classroom and using them at home. I really believe that they're just on them too much. And if I'm going to get them off of them as much as I can, and engage with paper to pencil or paper to pen in class, I think that's why you see a lot of that. And I hear you. Environmentally, it's not right.
Well, I'm not saying I use
Yeah.
Students probably use their computers the least in my class.
Yeah, but
because
I
I
think
make
even
them
if-
take notes
Yeah,
in a notebook that they provide for themselves.
That's very true.
Um,
But even at home, I don't even like to post
Yeah, okay.
assignments on.
Using computers.
So
maybe
it's just, yeah.
Once, twice a week.
Great, Alicia. What about the art department? I know that one is supplies intensive, and also the band department. Instruments need repair, things of the sort. So I don't know what kind of needs
Oh.
they have.
I reached out to Mr. Nosidal about repairs that he needed, and he said, you must be an angel, because, and I'm not, because we just got approved by Miss Lopez that they're gonna make those. Because I asked if he needed it, get that, so he did get the money for the repair.
This is what we approved last.
Right, well, just making sure, I reached out to make sure that they're getting.
What Dr. Sidmiller sent out really before we last time was to cover first semester.
Right.
It was $100,000+ we approved last time, which was department specific requests, because the dollar amount remaining, but was about 170 or 190, what's remaining right now is 20 of it. But what we approved this last with department specific. So we saw all those. I think it's still worthwhile to double check, because it's another check. But yeah, what we've heard is that it gets us through the first semester of needs, but second semester, again, we're gonna have to do certain fees in the fall. We still have to get rental income from Chicago School of Social things, because there's gonna need to be dollars. Fall, second semester.
So I think as we can, so I think if we consider the options, a couple of things to think about. So the one, what do we need for September? When we start the year, we won't have, maybe all the cash, discretionary cash we want. It will come as student fees and stuff come in, but making sure we can start the year strong. That's like one that I would propose. Another is considering sort of critical unmet needs. Now we're gonna have to define that. We don't, is an ice machine critical need? For 6 students and nurses, it is. For athletes who are getting injured, that helps them recover faster. could argue that is. Others may say, I have, but I would just think about what's really most essential. And then a third I'd throw out is revenue generators. So if they're an investment that will actually earn us money over time, we should consider that. Now, that's not unlimited because $2 million can eventually probably not a good investment, but just I would think about, what are investments?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is that the idea of the scoreboard, scoreboard, with the rental, would we be able to increase the rent and would we be willing to pay them if they started using the scoreboard?
That's something that, if it was like that, normal like. That did that. Like, that's how.
Conferences and workshops too.
So I think there's a lot about, right? I do think like. Every career. At some point. So at that point. But it's something we have to make. I don't know. We don't have $55,000, which is $5 or $10. But if we don't have a club, if we're talking about the base, first, nowhere near. Or just. Or. So at some point, we have to move forward with the $20,000. One way or another.
So we have TVs around the school and in the lunchroom, right? Working TVs that can put ad announcements. Right. Are we using that efficiently or effectively? I mean, can't we get people to buy time on that, on those?
So there used to be like in school media. I don't know how frequently people buy that media, but there's also.
Yeah,
You guys do content on those screens?
I don't
You guys
know.
Show?
I mean,
I mean,
it just
as
seems like
long
it
as
could be
people use it on a
used-
regular.
Yeah, so what they do is they type out the daily announcements and then they like rotate those on those screens.
I think if someone was doing that all the time, how great that could be.
Well, so I work in media, so I kind of know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, but you're advertising to students. So quite honestly, not a lot of, no offense, not a lot of buying power there. But anyway, but the scoreboard would have a little bit more because then you have other athletes coming in, families coming in. There's just a different demographic. So that's why the scoreboard has the potential for more sponsorship dollars. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, yeah, but
Like a happy birthday.
yeah, exactly. Chipotle $1 coupon off if you come today or something, or I don't know. I just,
Yeah,
We could
I
definitely
mean,
explore that. I think it's-
I like the idea of the scoreboard, but I don't like the idea of, all the monitors showing, all these ads, it's like, we're selling out all the kids, I don't like that idea.
sorry.
Yeah, and I don't even think like, right now, we definitely can afford 40, 50, 80,000. We don't, even if we said we could go on top of the 20, we don't have the cash. Right, it just wouldn't be fiscally
No.
responsible. So like, so I'm saying, so like, all we have would be for whatever scoreboard, to function, it wouldn't have that screen. It sounds like anyway, because that sounds like it's the 40,000+.
It wouldn't have that. Oh, I see what you mean.
Right.
It wouldn't even have that function anyway.
We can afford this.
Right, right. So we're talking about something, why are we wasting? Yeah.
But I mean, to that end though, is it possible just to have TVs in the gym functioning as scoreboards? Do we need?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I've never had a conversation. Sorry, but I think about like, the two ways this school stays afloat with being able to create student experiences beyond just the basics in the classroom are the folks who pay rent and then the students that pay student fees, right? So it's like, I think more than anything, granted, I firmly believe it's the faculty and the teachers that make this work. So I'll just be clear on that. But the dollars that keep it going are those two areas. So like, I don't know if Chicago Sports Social's ever made a comment, and I don't want them to be listening here and saying how much negotiating power they have. But if they made a comment to say that they need a scoreboard, I'd be like, we have to secure that. The cell phone tower gives us dollars, but not enough dollars. The parking lot gives us dollars, not enough dollars. You know, it's them. And then it's how do we maximize the student experience so that people think that the student fees are a worthwhile investment in their own, you know, experience. I mean, those are the most fiscally responsible, you know, but now they're not. They try to like add. I'm willing to try. I think they're gonna be like, but I mean, other posts. We don't have air
Actually, that brings up a good point. I think somebody listed an AC unit in a room.
Yeah, a few of us have added some items we think are important. Is this the time to talk about that too? Or is that? No, it wasn't. Lopez said she was gonna talk to you, but she never responded to me. You're positive? Cause I didn't send it to her. She said I had to send it to her, so I assume it hasn't. It's under what? Well, so there's an AC and Mario doesn't have an AC and he has kids in there. That's $200. It's $189.99. We can just do it. It doesn't have to be included in. Okay. Okay. And then also the gym teachers want, I'm not gonna speak for them, but I've heard it's very hot, like you're saying in the gyms. Is that doable to get ACs in there? No? Huh? Cause they're something for those guys. I feel like it's almost dangerous in there. What about those big things, like huge industrial things? Because it's hot, those poor folks in there are like sweating and red. When it's like 90 degrees, it's.
Make sure we also have.
But these are great wish list items that I think are big ticket items, right? Which is something that like maybe we can do some kind of fundraising around. I also feel like, you know, these are the type of things that like, I guess maybe what I mean to say is if we had more room in our budget, we could afford something like that, right? But we certainly haven't collected on student fees for this year. And so I'm just really cautious about spending big dollars on some items when we're kind of next to depleting our funds going into. We really won't have a lot in our budget, right?
Laura, what are you talking about specific? Are you worried about like the scoreboard thing?
No, I guess what I'm worried about is we haven't really collected student fees for this year. We are exhausting and we have to, right? Use it or lose it funds. We're not going to have a lot going into next school year. And in fact, I don't know, what do we have in our reserve? Do we have anything more than 20K?
Our student fees are two. I don't know. Have it like this. Wow, it wasn't really.
In our student fees, we raised about like 150K or so less this year than we typically did. And so one of the things that we vote on, I think in July, are student fee dollar amounts. And so the strategy, we should discuss at that point, the strategy is for student fee dollar amounts in collection. But I know like where Laura is coming from, and we've been talking about this, is just making sure that, you know, August, September, before student fees start getting collected, that there's dollars. But here, like the only thing I think that's been brought up is office supplies, you know, paper, for example. And so if there's enough paper to start the school year, then it wouldn't be a concern of spending the dollars here on paper. But if there's not enough paper to start the school year with, then we should talk about, paper, because I do think that like, we're gonna, yeah,
I totally green light any amount of money. You want to spend 10 grand on partitions? I would rather talk about how we're using the rooms. You want to spend 10 grand on paper? I'm in. I'm serious. Because like 2 weeks ago, I got word from my department chair and others that there was a real possibility of running out of paper. And at that point, because I'm very well planned months in advance, I looked at my unit calendars and my unit plans, and I printed anything that I need for the rest of the school. And that's very selfish of me to admit, right? I knew that there might be a scarcity of resources, and I took that information and I made sure that my 5 classes are covered, right? Thankfully, there was a very large pallet of paper sitting out there. I don't know if Veronica and her team has moved it inside yet or whatever, but those are the kinds of things that like make teachers feel supported. When there's no other fear, you want to talk about like the hierarchy of needs. If people are freaking out about not having paper, that really derails their week. That's a priority that I would advocate for using money for. Yes, 100.
Will we not have paper if we don't spend this? Is that what you're saying? We have no. Okay, so, okay.
Like how long, it would be good to know how much $10,000 lasts, like, or that low, like how long would that last the school? So someone needs to know that, like, right? If we're gonna keep spending money.
It is range between 6 and 7. They've changed our printing services. We are printing them. That's all we have. There is a set. Good. That was like, all else, like when dollars come on that last day and you believe that it's not. Even if we have more than we need for 3 months, we talk about. We choose just, that's what we voted for last. If we don't, it goes off supply.
What about,
Ice
yeah,
machine's important too.
I actually really like the ice machine as well.
The
Yes.
nurses have, in the past, they've had to freeze paper towels to make ice packs, so.
And like, and again, I do very much firmly believe that we need to make more office spaces for more people. As someone who like has a math background and others in my department who have math backgrounds, this, much like making a program matrix for the school, is like a huge math puzzle. Like anyone who has taken a combinatorics or graph theory class, like this is very doable. It's just we need, it's just, I mean, yeah, like again, I can't help do personnel decisions because that's not my role. But I would love the crap out of looking with SLT team and figuring out how to do that.
Can I add that to
But
the
it,
minutes,
but it
Mr. Con?
requires, well, I also don't want to upset my colleagues by like moving their offices. Like this can't be something that I'm doing. This is not something I'm doing, right? This needs to be, I am cooperating with the senior leadership team and thinking about ways to best use the spaces based on my 11-year history here, right? There's only one person in the room that has more history in this school than I do. And those experiences, no. But like those experiences are important to see how the building has been utilized over decades. And I would happily help with that.
So would I, but
and-
it helps it.
But I don't feel comfortable with spending money for partitions.
Do it. I'll say it like, I did.
Yeah.
But
And while I applaud, and I'm sure that that plan worked for then, it doesn't necessarily mean that it works now, right?
And a lot of that was for, I guess they call it a mother. Right?
Well, and there was also
lot-
issues
there was
of compliance
big
coming back from
issues.
COVID and room utilization was a important topic, not only for the district, but also for CPS. Right. Like those kinds of things. Exactly. Like those are the kinds of things that, it was important to take a deep dive into that stuff years ago. And it might be important to I mean, personally, I think blow the whole thing up and find what's best for our school. And that might mean some people move their offices. But if it's best for the group at large, you know, that's like how nature works. So it's been doing really well for millions and billions of years.
I know keep talking about paper, but is the toner for the copiers, is that a separate thing? We get that, we get that from the contract?
$60,000, that is actually that set. We have a lot of every department. has what states. It's the large. Like the Ricos. Yeah, the Ricos are, this is a Rico fund. Any non-Rico costs money. Anything not under Rico.
So that's.
When you ask the state.
So, right, so when I get this, guys purchase my.
Well, no, I don't know if anyone who has a personal printer like that is asking for the school to buy their inks. There's no, well, there's no way that I would ever green light something like that. Yeah. Okay, so let me just say, I think we should move toward a decision here in a second. I am capturing an action of Mr. SLP meeting with or other.
Yeah, we can do that for us. We can do it.
I think we need a list of rooms that are offices. And I think we need a list of people who need offices, right? We need a list of the space, and a list of the positions that need offices. And then raise the whole board.
We will go through this. We had we went all of them. This is the list of everything, but if not. So that's why I said 114 B. So.
But I think like list of room numbers is less helpful than like maybe like not blueprints, but give me the fire footage. Yeah, give me the fire plan, right? Let me see the size of this room so I have a better idea of how many people can go into that space. Highlight all those, right? Okay, now I have all these yellow rooms and I have all these names. Let's figure out who can go where.
Right.
And if we want to make sure that this is union compliant, I'm sure my colleague, Mr. Drake, would love this math problem with me. Okay. Awesome. So, Mr. Coddens, will you take point to set up the meeting? Will you, Dr. Steinmiller? Who's going to do it?
Sweet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Third period.
Are the hours there?
I don't plan, my recommendation is let's let the SWAT team of experts do that. If others want to join, I cannot say that I'm an expert. Again, this is just me trying to light the fire up under our administration's bums as far as like better using the space that we have rather than jumping into green lighting things. We probably still will need the partitions. That's a very likely outcome of this situation, right? But I can't say that we for sure need them because we haven't done a full analysis of it prior.
Just be careful.
So, oh, yeah, no, I am not the one.
I'm just presenting.
I'm
my view.
only because.
I think that like, if I can be invited into that meeting, then at least I can create some cover at the facilities, Chair.
It has come from facilities since the union suggested this.
Yeah, so like, as long as we include me, then I can try to provide some political cover.
I would say the union recommended this a long time ago. That's why it's been on the facilities agenda for such a long time. That's why I am proposing it. So I am just saying, the last time we met, this was the recommendation.
It wasn't.
2 years ago, but I'm
Wait.
just saying it was the recommendation from it. I will visit and review spaces.
Oh my
Just
God.
letting you know where it's coming.
Okay, Ms.
I-
Taylor.
Okay. Not all the decisions, though, were made by PPC. A lot of it was made by the SLT without consultation with the teachers that had been in there institutionally. When you made a lot of those decisions in the beginning, it burned a lot of bridges. And all I am saying, and those are bridges that still have not been repaired. And it's really fair. And so when we're going back in there again and doing this, and I'm not saying we need to be really careful that we're not, because what you might think is important is not important to someone else. And again, I want to say PPC did a little bit of that, but most of the decisions that were made by the administration, Dr. Steinmiller.
But for you, room utilization, I would absolutely disagree with that on this space. Because this
On which
had 20
space?
plus people a part of this participation about who would be impacted by the rooms. All the related service providers were part of the process. We reflected on this with every single one of them. They reviewed the spaces they potentially could go into. They sent feedback on. So I'm saying this is talking about this is related service providers, counselors, clinicians. Like that's what we're talking about. They were every single one of them were a part of this process. So I will counter that fully because that was fully involuntary. So they helped determine these appropriation of spaces to make sure that this was utilized right. I'm not saying we don't go and reflect on it, but we can reflect and maybe see options, but if we were to do this, we would have to bring them all back in again.
Yes,
I'm just going off the recommendation of what ultimately, this wasn't actually the utilization of that room wasn't my idea.
What about the attendance office and the diploma
We put
program?
more people in a space.
Okay, I
And
know,
still have
but
one person.
I think
for
the,
reasons though.
I think the comment from the two teachers here is that, maybe there was buy-in by, 20 people, but I think they were bought into a certain amount of spaces rather than looking at people who are schools for everything.
The only person who is in this room, honestly, who this is impacting is like when it related, like our related service providers, it's our community rep liaison, like that's one of the room spaces, like, and it's tight, but we need to make sure no matter what they are a part of, because we're talking about their spaces. And so this was a process we went through. Every single one of them were a part of it. They visited their spaces. They challenged options. And this is still like their rooms. Our teachers do have designated department spaces. And so our teachers do have the spaces they need to be able to do. And the English department is the one that has the stinkiest space in the world. And I'm trying to resolve that with them, but I think we have an option. But when our ELPT is the back of the stage, that's where it's the back of the stage. It's planning on being the back of the stage next year. At this point, we don't put space. Our IB coordinator, we are an IB school. Our IB coordinator is that's just something I think that through the union we've had these conversations with, and they each had a part. I think you and I can go through, maybe think creatively about additional spaces that eventually we may, because as we continue to grow as a school, we probably need, if we get 5 social workers, I'm not saying we will next year, right? We get a registrar, where do I put? If we get,
Yeah, I was actually just, weren't we
Yeah.
gonna go on a field trip?
I like to see
Let's go.
these, and then we could more.
I would agree. But if we're gonna go on this field trip and see that one room, I'd like to also show everyone the size of the space that's above the pillars in the old part of the main building, the birdcage area. I don't know what that is.
And I think the space that was taken away from certain people, that they should be part of that process as well. I mean, what do they need? And they were not acknowledged in that. And that's all I'm saying. You can sit here and defend and defend and defend. I'm telling you that it created a lot of anger and animosity.
Yeah,
That's
it sounds like it happened in some cases, maybe there was high involvement, in another one there was not. So going forward, let's try to involve a little better.
I think
So,
at the end of
okay.
the day, there is gonna be some of this anger from somebody who
Yeah.
owns a space right now, who, wants to keep their space.
Yeah, we do have to realize that.
But-
Okay,
I don't know if any of the people, if they've actually.
yeah,
Wanna
we
walk real
need
quick?
to, what's that? Well, we're gonna need to vote on how to spend this money, and I think we're gonna take a quick look at this space, and then we can come back and vote.
I want to show you the ELPT.
Yeah, and Mr. Cottonson wants to show us something too. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but when we come back, we're gonna vote, and then we can go. I think we've had enough discussion, unless there are other topics people want to talk about. Well, that's gonna, yes, I mean, that's what we've summarized so far. We have office supplies, cubicles, and ice machines, what's on the table right now. I think we've said no to the scoreboard because we don't have
We don't
enough.
have we don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
Right,
We
we would
don't
be,
have enough to buy.
that would be the only thing. we could do. Yeah, the scoreboard, it would be.
Well, yeah, if we went with that option versus the other option. So that could be a
That's-
proposal. I'm like, that proposal.
It's captive. It. It's,
What about the,
long time, like last year, those were the churches. We have like. I'll just like want me to see. the
Okay.
space.
This is just gonna stay recording. Okay. We are leaving for a site visit.
said, even when she had this office, there were papers there. So we knew exactly what she was doing, ran the best programs in the country. Doesn't matter, she's. I mean, I know. But if in that little office, yes, that little office, yes.
Let's go look at your space.
True, it is. I'm so. My desk is a little messy.
No, thanks for the tour. Very helpful. No one online. Now I think Paul's gonna join in a minute.
Dr. Steinmiller, I have a quick
McCormick
question.
is here.
Hi, Ms. McCormick.
It's not- I'm sorry, I didn't mean to promote you to panels. My bad.
Dr. Steinmiller, do you know, I know we get venture cards for the STLS students. Does the school have money for any student who needs venture cards? Because that happens often. I'm sure you know that. I don't know if y'all can speak on that at all, but I see a lot of students who need venture cards. And I'm just wondering if the school allocates a certain amount of money for students. If you, yeah, but it's still 75 cents for one way. So it adds up for a kid or a ticket to school. What do y'all think about that? Not to put you on this spot, I'm so sorry.
My understanding was that the venture cards are just on the ID, which is convenient, and you know to take care of that as well as your ID. But I also know there's like a misconception that there's unlimited funds on the venture card, which is just not true. Yeah, people think it gives you a ride to school and back. I know they give them out.
I also just will say that the cost of transportation hasn't really ever come up at a student voice committee meeting. All 3 years that I've been on it. So I think that it is once again something that I think would be really nice to have more funding for that, but I don't think that right now that is a huge necessity.
Well, I know if they are students in temporary living situations, do those particular students get free?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so all those kids get every day, they get a 2-ride pass, but I'm saying other,
for like,
the ID is a venture pass, but I see a ton of students who say, hey, I don't have money, can I
Right.
get a venture card? And I know like other principals, Stuckey and like other folks just had them. My question was just, does the school allocate funds to that or no?
We get like during the summer, there are some cards, certain freshman connection kind of things that we have those cards. So we ask for as many as we can get, and if there are extras left over, we hold on to them and then we distribute them. We always, if there's an option to X anywhere.
So that space behind the auditorium, to me, it almost looked like a set, creating sets for the plays and things of the sort. So if the room gets allocated for something else, is there somewhere for the set?
No, let's just do it.
It would just do it there.
It would be a drama room. So it would,
It is not a long.
yeah.
In the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have classroom space, but that office.
Some people also ask about this cluster kitchen here. Is it just a storage area now? Is that- Okay. Okay. So I think we had good discussion. Thank you, everybody. I think we should move to vote. We're gonna need someone to make a motion to vote on something. Could be you, Dr. Steinmiller.
I'm gonna start. Nice. But I also thought this.
I'm okay with a nice machine.
2001 here. Yeah, it's,
All right.
I'd like to make a
I'll pause
proposal of
now.
the ice machine, the I don't know if it's necessary for the AC units that you were talking about, the little ones, and also just office supplies, because I think the office divider seems to be a bigger topic that needs to be evaluated. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I agree that, but I think I think before we vote on any one specific thing, Dr. Simon, maybe you should say like everything that you're planning to motion to pass, just so we can do that from a priority standpoint.
And also, I just want to just get Paul into the meeting, so I make a motion to allow Paul to participate virtually. All those, is there a second? Okay, Ms. Alicia, all those in favor? Aye. Great, done. Thank you. Yep. Okay, welcome, Paul.
Yeah, I think the two that I would promote, priority, well, actually, it has three things that happen. The $3,110 for the ice machine, so the nurse. We get at the office every single day, the nurses ask for this. Otherwise, we're paying for disposable, and that also has a cost anyway, and we'll be spending. The other would be for the divider, the panels to be able to have office spaces designated within. So they can have 4 separate office spaces with locking doors on it at $10,907, and then the remaining fund.
So just a point of clarification. So would those dividers be conditional on being installed in that one particular room by the counselor's office, or would it be for other rooms as a possibility?
Space,
okay.
Also things I don't know about. We can explore like often.
Yeah, but like this one particular motion, it's just for the room that you showed us that has the whiteboards in use currently. Okay.
Next Friday we can evaluate occupancy spaces, because we have to make sure they can. I know that. So that's those three things: ice machine, panels, so coordinator,
And then
ultimately our ELPT and other people.
and then the ACs that
I think we get
Mr. Polvita was talking about as well.
Yeah, I just need to make
7 counselors.
there's 7 counselors.
Okay, plus Mario's, and it's 8. You would need 8 ACs for reference.
Yeah, and we do need to go through that. I think we can put that forward too if we want to make that a priority. Get AC into those spaces. We looked at getting the exact same thing that I think it's. I do need to make sure our engineer, we're not creating stuff exhaust. Like there's some things engineers should look at, but I'm happy to like. Like I don't think what JJ's office is just $200.
I know that Mario sent me one that he said would work for his space, and his space is roughly the same size as so,
yeah, just gotta go. We just gotta make.
So I would like to also mention that that's a good package. The alternative would be, and it would probably take 20K to do scoreboard. So all of this.
Or so are we voting for individual items then? Just one by one,
And
ice machine.
sorry, just to clarify, so the scoreboard, if we were to be voting for that, would that be the audio visual one that we can sell advertising on, or
Oh,
would
that
it
would
be
be
the
the
bare
simple
bones?
one.
Exactly what we.
Bare bones.
I'm not sure.
Right.
Putting 20,000. I don't think if I were gonna do it, I'd like to do it right for a long.
Right.
And so that's why the option, yeah, would be well, first I would do the ice machine panels.
Do you have? So do we ever see having $50,000 or $60,000 to get the LED scoreboard that we have?
I think we need to propose it to the friends of and make it a targeted fundraising activity.
I think that's for something of that to do something right. I think it's the friends of CPL collaboration.
Yeah, I think a lot of the friends of fundraising activities are very generic. And I think if people see a very targeted activity, maybe they'll flip the bill. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm not minimizing what they've done. I think they have, yeah, but I think if there's a targeted campaign, maybe it'll grab a little more attention to people rather than.
Well, this could, we have a new athletic director, we're engaging parents more on.
Right.
Or you can say, hey, let's all rally. for this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
But we need to build that. So
yeah, I'd like to explore that option because I think the scoreboard could be a revenue generating thing. But I think we do need the fanciers from,
So if just doing some of the math, we have $20,000, I forget the exact amount, but it's basically 3,100 for a light ice maker, 10, 9 for the walls, panels, and that would leave 5,900 for office.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna, I would say paper and AC, so we can, I'll work with the engineer, to make sure that there's a side.
Okay, so we can just put money aside for the ACs because I just noticed it does need a window thing. So there's other, we could get another one, I assume.
I think there's.
Right,
the
as long as
engineer
there's
has
money
to
there.
approve any-
Okay, okay.
So then as a part of the budget package, do we want to like put money aside that's conditional on it being approved by the engineer? And then if not, it could go to office supplies? Oops.
what are the, so is it just one package?
Yeah.
Can we do, yeah, I mean, my proposal was the ice machine, the ACs and paper supply. That was my package.
Right, so we can, Dr. Steinmiller is saying based on, his recommendation on he can make. So if that motion gets a second, we can then vote on it. Now, that's my proposal. I mean, if there are. Yeah, so if there are other options, I mean, we could do that, just that way it's less, more.
I guess we
informed.
have
So
two
if there's
packages right now. Is
another- if there's
anybody
another
else?
Proposal someone wants to make, we can just take a quick straw poll and then discuss those. And
Does
then vote.
anybody else have a different package they want to propose?
I would very much like to propose partitions, but for the other room 119 rather than 114B.
I would oppose that. Right now, that room is one of two SEL and peace rooms at this school. And it is being used very frequently by Mr. G for those purposes. And I think that it would be very detrimental to the work that he is trying to do to take that space, those spaces away from him.
Okay,
Well,
so
then-
that option one was.
Well,
What?
could we then do we have to have the peace room then if he's got that office? Why would he need two
When-
spaces?
On our surveying process for Student Voice Committee, so we surveyed specifically off of the one individual peace room, and 60% of students said that they would like more designated SEL spaces. So we were working with Mr. G to get that established specifically as one.
So, at least my perspective on the partitions is, we go through the exercise that Mr. Cotton was, proposing, and then in the fall, we can allocate some funds to it
There could be a chance.
after we evaluate it properly.
Could that evaluation, I think we have like, how long do we have to spend the money? Because potentially that evaluation could be done
We do it
before.
before- So we can come back, like, I think what we're trying to do is at least chip away at it, so like if it's something that. Is, and also see what's there, see, can you ask the engineer about that? Possible, you know, yeah, I mean, I've got thoughts on this, but when you need space. But,
I agree.
that'll become my own person. I think it's the one space that is your original office that sort of. And But I also, all open to. So I think what we do is we can come back, so we can table, like I would say, we can table the diagram panel where feeling is going.
Based on other people's contentions regarding my belief of the one place versus the other being partitioned, I have no interest in making that proposal at this point, and I think this is a bad thing to say for the future of the teachers of the main building, but if you want to partition 114B, go for it.
Okay, so my thought, so he's withdrawing his proposal for the assistant principal office participant and saying, go and do the other one if you want. What I'm saying is, if we could do the planogramming, of the school before the end of the year, we could vote on, do we want to put panels in there or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna get further study and can be brought back.
Yeah. So then what I would
Okay.
propose at this point, get an
I think everybody's.
And some paper?
And then, well, I mean, so. Yeah, so I would say definitely this,
Right.
and then, what I would even say is let's explore the options for the AC.
Yeah.
Cause I think that would be very important. And we can set.
Yeah,
So can
okay.
we vote on the-
It's 5:50 and we just had this meeting for an ice machine.
At least we
That's-
got somewhere.
That speaks to the level of preparedness or the way in which we run our meetings as far as being cognizant of people's time. Like that's frustrating.
But I think it's important to explore the other idea. That was an idea that wasn't really on the table. The ACs and, other office spaces I don't think it was a waste of time.
I think people should utilize that doc that a few of us have used to really put like quotes and numbers, because then we're just talking a lot, You know what I'm talking about? The Google Sheets that had, like, he put $5,000 for grass. Put something. She put something. I put something.
So we still have a June meeting, correct? I mean,
Yeah, we do.
we could still vote on these items?
I thought we had 3
have
weeks.
limitation. So like, there's, so really, we have to be able to put together sort of commitments. So there is a due date and it's like June 2nd, but by March or May 27th, have submitted, because if anything is not approved, get back. If you give yourself a 0 window, it just.
I think I think we can vote on the ice machine as a separate item, because I think for the most part, I'm kind of feeling that everybody is okay with the ice machine. And then we can vote on the AC. Conditional on the facilities to approve it. If they don't approve it, then the money goes to supply,
Which we've already voted.
which we already voted on.
So whatever we don't ratify now is going up. We want to pull out ice maker, the AC option. And contingent on some sort of study, but you're saying the study has to be done by the.
I mean, my proposal, we have so that if people that have the actual office space and the ice. Space. That's what it should be. Those people deserve to have office with. Yeah.
I don't disagree with the panels, but I think my feeling is, there's a little bit more thought that we can put into it.
I mean, if we can have what's known as a teacher's lounge with copiers and desk space and tables somewhere else, then I'm totally cool with you chopping up that room all you want.
In the lounge, that's cafeteria.
That's like a
I said this
cafeteria.
at the beginning and everybody's like, oh, you all have your own office spaces. I mean, why is it you say it, we consider it? Yeah, I think that needs to come back to the teachers. That was a usable space for so many people. Because we can't now. We can't use it now. There's no, it's there in there. It's, you know, right. We are, right, exactly.
I would like to make a motion at this point. I would motion to approve as a package funding for the ice machine. The air conditioners conditional on it being approved by the engineer. And then also on partitioners for room 114B, conditional on there not being a specific study or survey and like the need for a follow-up LSC meeting being conducted, that is no longer a viable option. So if there is in the future a tour being done and we decide, okay, this doesn't work, you know, we can come back and have that discussions then. But I think in the meantime, to, you know, get us to, you know, convey a sense of urgency, I think that we should vote to approve that now, conditional on there not being any like major future issues.
I'm not sure I was clear on what all that meant as far as the partition room.
114B, so
Right.
so the area that's being
I understand which room. I just didn't understand the condition.
so that there is, like we've been talking about, there's a walk around, there's a study of current office spaces, and we don't identify that there are. I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this because I agree that was clear.
I think the question is, can the study be done in time? Because we have basically 10 days, right? When you need a decision by the 27th, which I think is Labor Day. So
And again, I would not feel comfortable with having that whole conversation without including everyone's voice, right? You need to make that list of who needs an office, and everyone, literally everyone, needs to be at that meeting.
And
Like
that
that,
includes the teachers wanting that space back.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm gonna say that is
That's
from a funding approval, if we want to make that, fine, but that is not really our responsibility to be doing that. Like most schools, the principal, it's not a decision by the whole staff how we're gonna use everything. They should be heard, for sure, but that's just not, you know, that's the decision by, you know, that's just not, it's not our role. So,
But I mean, the,
which is why I was saying I was not comfortable with doing it, right?
Yeah.
That is one man's job.
right.
it is a
Right.
funding decision.
All right.
Just about.
Yeah,
Okay,
but we need to,
again-
we need to wrap up. We're about to lose people.
right, and also this, a vote should be about how to use funds that will go away if we don't spend it. So because this is a larger conversation, perhaps we should table that for next school year's budget. We have funds, we have funds. If we don't, we don't. But we should then just allocate the 20K against the things that we know to be true, which is office supplies. And then I guess the other variables are the air conditioners and the ice rink. Right? Those are the three things that we could honestly probably vote on today. And then since we don't know about cubicles and office spaces and how everything should be allocated, that should be a conversation for later date.
Yeah, and I think seeing if we can find space where we can use it more properly.
Yeah, and I think I'll just say,
Is that correct?
if I could add, I mean, I think that, I agree that the desire not to, you know, for those who don't want to fund, what I'm sensing, the walls, is not that we're against those workers that don't want to provide that conditions for them. It's just that we're being given a myopic view without the whole picture. We have several other ideas on the table. Without preparation or information to make that decision, it's hard to feel good about it. So that's what the sense is. It's not against the ELPT, even though I'm still not sure what that role is, and the other people. I just think, you know,
It's nothing against
no,
the
that's great.
creating the offices. It's nothing against the people that are in those offices.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a response based off of going back to 20+ people working with the union to determine these spaces. The goal was for that space to be determined working with the teachers union. And that's why I've been working to get this proposal for like a year and a half. So that's why I'm presenting it, so that our teachers who are in these positions can have secure spaces. That's why I'm presenting it. There was lots of time and effort put into it. And over the last 2 years, I have reviewed it. I have presented it, not to necessarily everybody who's on this council, but this has been presented. So this isn't, but some of you are new to that time. So I think this will be the last thing I say, that it was a process. We've gone through it. That's why I'm making a proposal on behalf of that work. Hope that you would take into consideration, put the panels in, but I will do the study of all the available spaces that we can, see what we can do.
Just two very brief questions. With the other priorities that we've set aside for next year, do you think that there would be funding to be able to do both the partition walls and those additional things such as like scoreboards and facilities needs in the pool next year?
All I know is money that student
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Would we be at risk of violating contracts if we don't pass this year?
I mean, I would argue that we've been living with it.
Folks here don't need their own space, right? You know, because it's the folks who need their own space are the social workers and counselors, which have their spaces already.
I mean, a full-time EL. If we become so if I were to move Mississippi into that office, is it okay, as our teaching coordinator, I don't say yes, we're gonna take that room we just reserved and put them read them because of the student records that are out.
Dr. Steinmiller,
That's why
could you
It's more about student security of records.
utilize one of the many safes we have to put all the records in and organize them like IB, VP, whatever else there?
I think it's a great suggestion, and maybe that goes into Mr. Cotton's common electronics team. Sorry. If there was a different room where the copiers and that desk space and table space could be put, that's not the cafeteria, I would be totally fine with chopping up that room. But at the moment, I don't, right? We can even do more partitions. We can make that 6 offices if it meant that some other classroom somewhere else became the place where there's 2 or 3 copiers with tables and desks for teachers to have that space. Right. If there was a different place in this building for that to take place that's not in the cafeteria, then you could turn that from currently 2 desks into 6 desks, partitions or no partitions. Okay. It could be a locked room that's only office space.
Yeah.
But until we have a different room to put those copiers and workspace for teachers and subs and security guards, until we have that other alternate space, the chopping up that room into offices is okay. Something. Is there a proposal then that someone wants to put forward, a motion for voting?
I motion to allocate the funds conditional on the engineer study for air conditioners, for partitions in room 114B, and for an ice machine.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that's not sufficient. So is there another counter proposal?
I'd like to make the motion of the ice machine, the ACs conditional on the facilities, approving it.
We talked to all the counselors that they want air in there. Is it so hot that, I don't know.
Yes, they do want air. They've been wanting it for 4
Okay,
years.
I'm just
Okay.
making sure we have covered.
Okay.
Actually, I can't, we're allowed to pass.
Yes, so my proposal is, I'm making the motion to vote on the ice machine, the ACs, conditional on facilities approving it, and then the rest of the money going to office supplies.
Lisa, do you have to put a number on the ACs, like a dollar amount, right?
Well, we're not
Ru-
putting dollar amounts on.
Like
put
roughly,
it into a
It's
bucket.
I would say like
roughly,
$2,000 or
say
something.
it's roughly 1,600. If it's 200 times 8 rooms.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
say it.
Like,
Okay,
move it to a
yeah.
line.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say eight, the 8 ACs, as you put it. And
Okay.
then the rest of the money would go to office supplies.
Okay. Is that not what he just said?
No, he added the
He said
partition,
he added the partition.
Oh.
but mine doesn't have a partition.
Okay. All right. So is there a second for Alicia's motion? Okay. All those in favor? Got the same amount.
What about? Can you-
7 would still not be enough.
I'd like to make a different motion, just ice machine.
I said-
Okay. All those in favor of approving an ice machine? Okay. Still don't have enough.
Okay, are there any amendments or conditions that we think would make this group comfortable with getting funding for partitions and a group vote? Any
I
additional?
don't have an issue with the partitions.
Yeah.
But I think the study would need to be done, and then we can prove it in the fall.
But
We're, we're just spending the,
Yeah.
we're just spending the supplies money.
Yeah.
We're spending it here rather than here.
the way I look at it though is
We're
that
just shuffling the
Yeah.
supplies and the partitions to a different date. That's all we're doing.
the way I see it though is we are always going to be able to have the money to buy supplies through different buckets, and that is something that through fees, and partitions is something that, as Dr. Simler said earlier, we're not sure if we'll have the money to do that in the fall. Condition if it doesn't fall under our priorities, or if something else large facilities wise comes up now. And I mean, just honestly, the way I see it is that as a body, we do not get a ton of opportunities to say, okay, here is a need, we have the money, we can fill it. And I don't feel good about saying, okay, we have this opportunity to fulfill a need and we're passing on it now. Because
Also add that like, I think any study is going to show that there needs to be more space than less space. And so like, I voted for both if both people didn't notice, just because I think, we might as well, spend the dollars on something that we agree with. But I think whatever study happens, because of the conversation earlier, like we're going to need more than just that space divided up. There's going to be other spaces that need divided up. So, I mean, I agree with what.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think the question is the space that we have now being used effectively and efficiently?
but I think that that's something that can be addressed at a different time while also meeting the need in advance for more space. And then afterwards, we can go through, look and see now with these new additional spaces, are there ways that we can use that in efficient ways as well?
I think once that happens, it's out of the LSC's hands to decide where that's going to go, Alex, and that is Alexander. And
Yeah.
that's where the assumption is that we trust the process after this. And some of us don't trust the process.
I completely understand that, but I think, good way to say this, I think that if, like Brad said, we need space. And I think that this is a way to ensure that we have space. This is an opportunity that we have now, and we are not sure if we're going to have this opportunity again in the fall.
I hear you. I don't think maybe, and this is going to be bad, we need the space, that space that's being used for, the peace room, the second is a really huge space. And I think that we can use that space for the teacher's room if we want to go there, and we can have the copiers and then split 114B into offices. I think the peace room is adequate, and I think those are just discussions we need to have.
So you can move, we can't, I mean, all the copiers will fit
Mhm.
in the 114. So the copiers will not be leaked. They will all be fitting. So people will still be able to use that for a copying space. What we can communicate to subs is if you're subbing for math, here's the office for math. Here's the office for INS. So We can communicate that to our subs, so they do have a space to be able to go to. We can improve that communication. Look, you're subbing for math, go to the math making it, here's for security. We can definitely create for the most part, security utilizes the cafeteria space. Like the office. If there's more stuff we can need to allocate there, anytime we think of any additional room, and I'll tell you the 1899 office space, it will not have the power to be able to move printers in there or anything else. And it would require,
Okay,
that's why the ice machine is the
Yeah.
cheapest for 3,000, because any other location is $6,000 to $7,000 per different location.
And I will also say though that I completely agree that teachers need adequate space, and I could not agree with that more. But I will also just say that students need space, and it has been shown through our surveys that right now they don't have enough, and right now 119 is functioning in a way that ensures that they do have enough. And I think that just that is a relatively different thing.
I would love to, and this has not been yet talked about, bring something else entirely to spend this money. This afternoon, talking with Mr. Cantori, our head engineer, we had lengthy conversations back and forth about reclaiming the areas that are very muddy throughout our campus and regrassifying them. I believe that this is important for not only the aesthetics of the school from the outside, but also because these students track a lot of mud into the hallways and classrooms, which makes our custodial services much more of a task than it needs to be. Cleaning classroom floors, cleaning hallway floors. If those places were not mud, but actually grass, with roots that absorb the water rather than just having it run off, it would be beneficial for us as a school community twofold, not only in the way that things look, but also in the amount of cleaning that's necessary on a daily basis. Mr. Cantori suggests that around 5K of earmarked money for things like an aerator, a spreader, regular applications of turf build, and perhaps water service for properly taking care of these areas would cost around 5K. That is an idea for spending 5K of this money. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree that that's something that's very important. Part of what Student Voice has done is we've ways that we can better utilize those outdoor spaces. And part of what we agreed was a need was for beautification of the areas. I will raise that some of the conversations that we've had with administrators and other people that are involved in this would be involved in this project have suggested going to Friends of to get those funds for outdoor spaces, and I think that that's just another avenue.
I also heard through my students that come to gardening club that one of the places they wanted to beautify first was the area that has a couple of blue picnic tables down on the south end near the bike racks, between the bike racks and the marquee sign. And I told them that that's just like way too lost of a space. There's no way that I can, with the gardening funds, reclaim that space. It needs to be like very seriously and somewhat professionally reclaimed, so that would be an SEL space that is outside. As you're walking south, it's on the left. Yeah. So that would be the west side of the building, the east side of the sidewalk.
Like small sidewalk, it'd be on the west, yeah.
Okay.
It's an outdoor space that's just before to outdoor.
Yeah, I heard from Mr. Cantori yesterday about the aerator too. He's like, the ground is so compacted that we can't grow anything. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. But we need to wrap up. But yeah. So anyway, I was just sort of saying I have heard that need from him for a while.
So my proposal, would be to fund earmarked $5,000 for grounds improvement as far as grass growing, as well as the $3,000 ice machine, and the remainder of the funds towards office supplies. Oh, as well as the AC for the counselors. Thank you. That would be a total of 4 things.
Roughly how much would that leave going towards office supplies then, do you think?
5K plus 3K is 8K plus 2K is 10K. So about half of the $20,000 remaining would go towards those aforementioned items.
I'll just say that. we're gonna get supplies either way, so why not? Right?
I mean, I honestly, what I hear there is that we have room to include that in a package that includes partitions.
Yes, I would agree. But my proposal does not include partitions. Do I have a second?
So that's a total of basically 9,900.
I think more what we meant by that is that we will be able to do that out of student fees specifically at a later time. So it would be better use of funds to spend this money on things outside of office supplies.
Right.
And I think if we spend 10K, that just sort of leaves 10K hanging out of unique things that we could use with this money.
So I'll second the motion, just so we can vote on it. Mr. Cotton's idea.
It's roughly just under 10 grand for an ice machine, for regrowing grass in areas that are in need of it, for AC units for the counselors.
Which is 5,000 for ground, 3,000 for ice maker, and 1,800 for the AC. About 99.
And then Dr. Semler, how much was the funding on partition? Was the money for 10,009? So
I remember.
Yeah, I second that.
Oh,
Okay.
So
All those,
Could-
all
could-
those in favor of Mr. Cotton's proposal? Motion?
can I ask a question before, oh, yeah. Yeah, so can I ask a question regarding the beautification of the gardens? Would that? Okay, the grass. But would there be a protection for the grass? You know, because there's areas where, you know, I could see the kids just trampling over the grass and going nowhere with.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be something that is like done over the summer. And that's what I talked with Mr. Cantori about. And it would be a project that he's working on building long-term, which is why he wants some of those.
I mean, I'm talking about like
personal
area
things.
over here by the.
Yes.
auditorium.
Yes, all of those areas those are the muddy areas that I'm referring to that would be regrassed.
Right,
Miss-
so it would be regrass, but would there be like a small fence there or something? to
Well,
protect
if there's
the-
grass there, like people can walk on grass, right? Football players do it, baseball players do it. People
but
do
it's
it in
not
the
gonna
park.
last very long because it's gonna be a path.
No, but what I'm saying, I mean, no. But what I'm saying is, once it's grass,
But it takes time for it to. No.
yes.
So is anything
But
gonna be around, a dog it's on it, it gets yellow, it's. Is there anything gonna be around? Would keep it at least?
I have no idea. I mean, if that's the case, if that's what you want, then we should just put fences around everything that's not a concrete sidewalk and keep everyone off, much like I have done with the gardens in front of the freshman building.
Well,
I
you
put
know,
fences up to keep physical barriers out.
That's a good
Right.
idea to maybe. Fences.
Or the other idea.
So we're
is-
saying that we want to encircle the concrete walkways with fence so that no one can go outside of the concrete walkways.
I think the other idea is, you know, pavers.
Yeah, the first.
Yeah, of course.
And that's like the goal of the area.
That's like a part of the whole process.
I also think that's something that can be determined by the engineer and isn't necessarily an LSC matter. Mr. Kranz, would you be, would, oh, I completely agree. Mr. Kranz, would you maybe be willing to condition the, office supplies funding on there not being an additional determination after like a review of office space that 114B would be an appropriate location?
Like I've said, it's very possible that it could be a location, but that requires a lot more than what we've dedicated here now.
I'll make a
So-
motion too on something that's slightly different, just because I want to see if we can get some other things going. The 5,000 for, creating, repairing grass, 3,000 for ice machine, 2,000 for AC. So that's $10,000. Mr. Cantori's also asked for about $6,000 spending amount because he gets no supplies to do anything, paint cans, any kind of repairs throughout the school year.
Oh, that's. Good.
So I would add in a $6,000 spending allowance for Mr. Cantori. So that gets us to 16,000 with 4,000 for office supplies. So that's my motion.
So that's like paint.
Yeah.
Can't do that because we won't have, it won't fold over. We have to do a purchase. We have to have immediate purchase.
Yeah. I
Like,
said, no,
what
paint.
he need, what he's asked friends of, or is to have a fund that he can go to Home Depot over the course of next year.
So he doesn't know what he wants yet.
Yes, so he doesn't, so like, he wants that with friends of where he has like a go-to card.
Okay.
And he needs stuff, so like, it's not that you can't come up with
Okay.
5,000, but I don't want $5,000 paint and then get back.
So I remove my motion.
But
Sorry, I'm not trying to like squash it. That's not what it, like, I know what you're saying.
I like your motion.
Thank you.
Why can't we then table it to the June meeting? And we can talk to Mr. Cantori and see if he can come up with an itemized list.
They just need to do the purchase by May 27th.
Yep.
Can we say like engineering and office supplies to make it more expansive? So I make a motion to do the three things we talked about, 5,000 for grass, 3,000 for ice machine, 2,000 for ACs, and then the remaining dollars for engineering and or office supplies.
I would second that.
Well, he still needs to create a purchase order. For the engine.
We know that like if we're not agreeing on something.
Yeah,
like,
we're gonna
we-
lose
no, no, no,
$20,000.
no, we'll go to office.
I mean, if we could feedback on anything, like I can make. You make checks up to 2,500 and our bylaw, 1,000, so the other things. will go. I don't want-
I'm still surprised that we couldn't vote on fixing the ice machine. Well, I did that, but. Well, I did that.
I
and
moved to
was
vote
no-
for the ice machine.
I'll second.
Second, I moved. Passed.
I proposed it 30 minutes ago. There was like, no, no,
I don't know if it was ever like a formal motion. It needs,
AC. I moved to, find funds available for the 8,000, just because of cost. I don't want to limit it to us. We know there's about 8 spaces to prioritize the funds for the AC, be it whatever they cost, with available funds. Or do you have 8? I don't know, like watch it be $2,000 each.
Yeah.
I don't know.
1,000.
I don't know. But like, if we want to make that a priority, make sure our people have air conditioned spaces, we can make sure people have. But like, we need to like move forward.
So. Yeah, it's
Okay.
about 2,000.
But if it costs 2,100, actually, if it's, if it's under 2,500, I can buy it anyway with a check, and under $10,000, buy it. If that's something you want me to prioritize, please vote on.
okay,
So let's say 2,500. That'll give a little bit of
okay,
wiggle room.
to make,
Yes. Okay.
okay. All right, all those in favor? This is for the AC vents
no.
in those 8
It's
rooms.
not gonna go to
Yes. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, passes.
But to be clear, it will 2,500 probably not cover 8 rooms, but we will prioritize those.
So we'll do as many as possible
Yeah,
with the
sounds good.
2,500.
Next,
Is there another motion?
Yeah, I motion to spend the $5,000 for the groundskeeping needs outlined.
Okay, okay, second, all those in favor? 3, 4, 5, 6.
Can we add papers in there? As a, because.
We're
We already
doing, we're
have
doing
it.
these individually.
Papers we've already included as whatever we don't vote on. If
No,
that's-
I'm saying.
I do-
in-
and I just want to say, the reason I'm not voting is I believe it's half the cost of the partitions to be able to support our teachers, and that's why I'm not. And I also think we can find other funds for it.
So that one did not pass, it was 6.
So I would vote for it if we have some pavers or something, because people are gonna be walking through frequent areas.
Oh,
Yeah,
have
maybe-
some paper.
Pavers.
Like,
Pavers.
like
Pavers.
to make sure that.
So instead of fencing, we have more bricks on the floor of some sort to create walking
But
areas.
there's already
people are-
concrete poured sidewalks. Like,
People are still gonna be cutting the corners.
All right, is there, you want to make another motion? No, man, I want to resign from the LSC. That's what I want to do. Okay, is there a motion to, to, do the groundskeeping for $5,000?
Groundskeeping for 5,000.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, all those in favor? 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that passes. Great. I think just intuitively, like anytime that you put down a bunch of grass seed and like the hay coverings that go over it and everything, that is an area that is a no walking zone for months. Much like it was in front of the first, in front of the main building here, like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to
I think
adjourn?
that
We can
Cantor
stay and
can do
talk
that.
if we want.
I move to adjourn.
Oh, it's fine.
Wait,
We voted on the last time.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, second?
All in.
All in favor? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for the time. Dr. Simon, do you want these?